The crystal chandeliers dimmed, casting long shadows across the ballroom as Barron Trump approached the microphone. Moments earlier, a liberal journalist had openly mocked him, expecting the young man to crumble under pressure. The crowd leaned in, holding their breath, anticipating either a scandal or a surprising revelation. As Barron opened his mouth to speak, an unexpected hush fell over the room. The air crackled with tension, and all eyes fixed on the tall, slender figure at the podium. Would Barron's response change the course of the evening, or perhaps even his life? The Fairmont Grand Hotel buzzed with anticipation as guests arrived for the annual charity gala. The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, their light dancing off sequined gowns and polished cufflinks. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes and fresh flowers. This gathering of New York's elite focused on supporting education initiatives for underprivileged youth. As the crowd mingled, sipping champagne and exchanging pleasantries, an undercurrent of excitement rippled through the room. The guest list boasted politicians, celebrities, and business magnates. But one name stood out, causing subtle whispers and furtive glances: Barron Trump. When he entered, Barron's presence was impossible to ignore. At 6'7", he towered over most guests, his lanky frame accentuated by a well-tailored suit. His demeanor was composed yet somewhat reserved, his eyes scanning the room with a mix of curiosity and caution. The gala's atmosphere seemed to part around Barron like water around a stone. Conversations hushed momentarily as he passed, only to resume with increased intensity once he was out of earshot. He moved through the crowd with grace, offering polite nods and brief smiles, but rarely stopping for extended conversations. In stark contrast to Barron's quiet presence, Olivia Marsh swept into the room like a gust of wind. The liberal journalist, known for her sharp wit and unapologetic opinions, commanded attention in a bold red dress. Her arrival shifted the energy in the room, conversations rising in volume as people speculated about her upcoming speech. As Olivia made her way to the stage, the crowd settled. Barron, engaged in a quiet conversation near the back, turned towards the podium. The lights dimmed, focusing attention on Olivia, who stood with microphone in hand and a mischievous glint in her eye. Her opening remarks were sharp and witty, eliciting nervous laughter. But as she continued, her gaze settled on Barron, and her tone took on an edge that made everyone hold their breath. "And speaking of tall tales," Olivia said, her voice carrying clearly through the silent room, "we have our very own beanstalk in attendance tonight. Barron Trump, ladies and gentlemen. I hear he's so tall now, he has to duck to avoid the truth when it flies overhead." The silence that followed was deafening. All eyes turned to Barron, waiting to see how he would react to this unexpected mockery. The young man stood still, his face a mask of calm as he met Olivia's challenging gaze across the room. The tension stretched out like a taut wire between them. The room held its breath, suspended in a moment that felt eternal. Olivia's words hung in the air, sharp and venomous, but it was Barron's response that would turn the tide of the evening in a way no one could have predicted. As the keynote speaker, Olivia Marsh had started her speech with light-hearted quips about city traffic and past gala mishaps. The crowd chuckled, easing into what they assumed would be a pleasant evening. But as Olivia's tone shifted towards political commentary, a palpable tension settled over the room. Mixed reactions rippled through the audience. Some nodded in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Then, without warning, Olivia's razor-sharp wit found an unexpected target: Barron Trump. Her quip about Donald Trump's legacy zeroed in on the young man, who until that moment had been content to blend into the background. A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom as the implications of her joke sank in. Nervous laughter bubbled up from a few corners, quickly swallowed by an uncomfortable silence. All eyes turned to Barron. He sat motionless, his face a mask of calm that betrayed none of the turmoil churning beneath the surface. His gaze, steady and unwavering, locked onto Olivia across the room. The stillness of his posture contrasted sharply with the restless energy now permeating the gala. In that moment, the power dynamics became glaringly apparent. A seasoned journalist had used her platform to critique a young man who never sought the spotlight. Barron's vulnerability was suddenly thrust into sharp relief. Unprepared for such public scrutiny, yet expected to respond with the poise of a seasoned public figure. The tension in the room was a taut wire, ready to snap at any moment. Barron's mind raced, weighing his options. Should he maintain his dignified silence, or rise to defend himself? Would a response be seen as justification for the joke, or would silence be interpreted as weakness? The weight of his family name, the expectations of the crowd, and his own sense of self all hung in the balance. As the seconds ticked by, the anticipation grew. Guests leaned forward, cocktails forgotten, conversations hushed. Even the waitstaff paused, sensing the gravity of the moment. Everyone waited, wondering how this young man would address the cutting remark so carelessly tossed his way. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, Barron began to rise from his seat. The rustle of his movement seemed to echo in the silence. As he stood to his full height, the room collectively held its breath. What words would he choose? How would he navigate this treacherous moment? As Barron approached the stage, the air crackled with tension. The crowd watched, transfixed, as he made his way to the microphone. His face remained unreadable, but his eyes held a glimmer of determination that hinted at an unexpected turn of events. Barron's steps were measured and deliberate, each footfall echoing through the hushed ballroom. As he reached the podium, he paused, his shoulders squared and chin slightly raised. He surveyed the sea of faces before him, some leaning forward in anticipation, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats. When Barron began to speak, his voice cut through the silence like a beam of light piercing darkness. It was steady and clear, carrying a weight that belied his years. "Words have power," he said, his gaze sweeping across the room. "They can hurt or heal, divide or unite. Today, I choose to use mine to bring us together." The room collectively held its breath, hanging on his every word. As he continued, the contrast between his composed demeanor and the journalist's growing discomfort became increasingly apparent. Olivia Marsh now seemed to shrink in her seat, her earlier bravado evaporating under Barron's calm gaze. Barron's words were carefully chosen, each one landing with precision and impact. He spoke of kindness, empathy, and the responsibility that comes with a public platform. His maturity and thoughtfulness were evident in every sentence, surprising even those who had known him for years. The impact of Barron's words rippled through the audience. Some guests nodded in agreement, their faces etched with newfound respect. Others looked down, perhaps reflecting on their own behavior. Even the most hardened cynics in the room found themselves reconsidering their preconceptions about this young man they had so quickly judged. As Barron built towards the core of his message, the room leaned in closer. His voice grew stronger, infused with a passion that was impossible to ignore. The simplicity and truth of his statements challenged everyone present to consider the weight of their own words. The lesson Barron taught that night went far beyond respect. It was a masterclass in grace under pressure, in rising above pettiness, and in the true meaning of strength. He showed that wisdom isn't always tied to age, and that sometimes the most powerful response to mockery is not retaliation, but elevation of the conversation. As the last words of Barron's speech faded, a profound silence enveloped the room. Then, like a pebble dropped in a still pond, a single pair of hands began to clap. The sound grew, hesitant at first, but quickly swelling into a thunderous ovation. The audience, once divided, now stood united in their appreciation for the young man's unexpected wisdom. Olivia Marsh, the journalist who had ignited this moment, sat frozen in her seat. Her face, once animated with the thrill of delivering barbs, now bore a look of stunned realization. She had come to deliver a speech, but instead found herself on the receiving end of a lesson in humility and grace. Around the room, reactions varied. Some guests leapt to their feet, their applause punctuated by enthusiastic cheers. Others remained seated, their expressions a mix of contemplation and awe. The shift in perception was palpable. Barron Trump, who had entered the gala as a target for mockery, now commanded the room with an unexpected gravitas. In one corner, a group of celebrities huddled together, their whispered conversations a stark contrast to their usual boisterous demeanor. "Did you see that coming?" one asked, her voice barely audible above the applause. "I never thought, he's just a kid, right?" Another nodded, his eyes still fixed on the stage where Barron stood. "Not anymore," he murmured. Across the room, a seasoned politician leaned towards his aide. "Get me everything we have on the Trump kid," he muttered. "We might have underestimated him." The aide nodded, already tapping furiously on her phone. The political landscape, it seemed, was shifting beneath their feet. As the applause began to die down, the buzz of conversation grew. Phones appeared in hands throughout the ballroom, fingers flying across screens as attendees rushed to share their thoughts on social media. Within minutes, clips of Barron's speech were circulating online, accompanied by a flood of comments praising his composure and maturity. The impact of the moment extended far beyond the confines of the gala. Parents and educators watching the viral clips saw an opportunity for a teachable moment. Here was a young man who had faced public mockery with dignity, who had chosen to respond with kindness rather than anger. It was a powerful example of how to stand up for oneself without tearing others down. In the wake of Barron Trump's remarkable speech, the digital world erupted with reactions. Within hours, snippets of his response flooded social media platforms. Attendees, discreetly recording on their phones, had captured the essence of the evening. And now those moments were spreading across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The court of public opinion swiftly convened, with reactions varying widely. One viral tweet declared, "Barron Trump just showed us all what true class looks like." Another user commented, "Impressed by his composure. That's how you handle criticism with grace." However, critics questioned the sincerity of Barron's words, with one post suggesting, "Feels a bit too polished. Wonder who wrote that for him." As the online debate raged on, the incident spilled over into mainstream media. Talk shows and podcasts buzzed with discussions about civility and public discourse. The journalist at the center of the storm, Olivia Marsh, faced intense scrutiny. The day after the gala, she issued a statement acknowledging her misstep and apologizing to Barron Trump. Reflecting on the experience months later, Marsh shared, "It was a wake-up call. I've learned to approach humor with more empathy and consider the impact of my words more carefully. It's changed how I approach my role as a journalist." The incident's impact lingered, prompting discussions about responsible communication. Schools incorporated the event into their digital citizenship curriculum. One high school teacher reported, "We use this as a case study in our media literacy class. It's a powerful example of how words can affect others, even unintentionally." Workplaces also use the incident as a springboard for discussions. A corporate trainer described using the scenario in workshops, saying, "It's a relatable example that helps employees understand the importance of respectful communication, both online and offline." For Barron Trump, the incident marked a turning point in his public image. No longer just the silent figure in family photos, he had emerged as a voice of reason and maturity. Many who had previously given little thought to the youngest, Trump found themselves reassessing their preconceptions, seeing him in a new light as a young man capable of handling difficult situations with poise and grace. The gala, originally intended to support education initiatives, had inadvertently provided a powerful teaching moment for the entire nation. It highlighted how easy it is to dehumanize others in the name of humor or political point scoring, and emphasize the importance of choosing words that build rather than destroy. As the dust settled on the gala incident, a question lingered. Could a single moment of grace redefine a person's entire public image? For Barron Trump, the answer was unfolding in unexpected ways. Weeks after the charity event, Barron's response continued to resonate. His calm demeanor in the face of mockery had struck a chord with people from all walks of life. Social media buzzed with discussions about respect, empathy, and the power of words. Snippets of Barron's speech circulated widely, sparking debates about the ethics of public commentary on young figures. The incident had transformed Barron from a silent figure in the background to a symbol of grace under pressure. Many reassessed their preconceptions of the youngest Trump. His ability to bridge divides was particularly noteworthy, with people of differing political beliefs finding common ground in their admiration for his poise. Amidst this attention, Barron remained unchanged. He navigated his newfound respect with the same quiet dignity that had captured the public's imagination. This contrast between the public's evolving perception and Barron's consistent demeanor only deepened the impact of his actions. The incident sparked widespread discussions about youth in the public eye. Schools incorporated the event into lessons on digital citizenship and respectful communication. Workplaces used it to discuss creating inclusive environments. The gala had become a powerful teaching moment for the nation. Barron's words inspired others in unexpected ways. Stories emerged of people choosing kindness in difficult situations, citing his example. His reminder that dignity is a choice resonated widely, prompting reflection on personal communication styles. Throughout this ordeal, Barron displayed remarkable emotional intelligence. His ability to respond to mockery with empathy, choose dignity over retaliation, and turn a moment of potential humiliation into a lesson for others showed maturity beyond his years. The long-term impact on Barron's future remained to be seen. However, his ability to handle the situation with grace had undoubtedly opened new doors. As he continued to navigate life in the spotlight, he did so with newfound respect and a demonstrated capacity for leadership. The ripples of Barron Trump's response at the charity gala transformed a moment of potential humiliation into a powerful lesson in dignity. Across the nation, people reflected on their words and actions, realizing their profound impact. The incident sparked discussions about personal responsibility in shaping public discourse. The power of a single voice to change conversation tone became evident, inspiring many to reconsider their approach to disagreements. Barron's response served as a call to action, challenging everyone to promote civility and understanding in their communities. As the dust settled, many wondered, how might our world change if we all chose to respond to mockery with grace and wisdom?